Alright, welcome to lesson 2 in the third spiral. Today we're looking at the product of two monomials. So what do I want you to be able to do? I want you to demonstrate understanding of multiplying monomials and how our basic exponent laws work. So this should be review from grade 8, but we will go over it anyway. So example 1, what is a more efficient way to write repeated multiplication? Okay, so that's basically what I'm asking. So we can rewrite this as a base of 3, and there's 3 of them, so we multiplied 3 by itself 3 times, or 3 to the exponent 3. For the next one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 5s, so it's 5 to the exponent 7. And in this one, we use brackets for our multiplication, okay? Just because if we use a multiplication symbol, it looks like our x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'd be x to the 6th. All right? So that's writing it or simplifying it. Second example is expansion. So if we have 7 to the exponent 4, that means we have 4 7s being multiplied. If we have 5 squared, that's 5 times 5. And whenever we're using variables, I always recommend, instead of using multiplication symbols, use your brackets. So x times x times x times x. All right? So the exponent was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So there is a quick review on writing it in simplified or exponential form and then expanding out exponential form. All right? If you have any questions with that, this is a good time to pause and ask your teacher a question to clarify. All right, so a monomial. What is a monomial? It is right here. It consists of 3 components. So the first component is the coefficient. It is the number out front. So like in the first spiral, the coefficient told us how many we have. In this case, we have 3x squareds, or 3 apples. Think of it that way. Next is your variable, and it's a letter. So we have a variable. And finally, the exponent. So those 3 items make up our monomial. All right? So in the next part, when we want to multiply 2 monomials, it's important to remember BEDMAS tells us we can multiply in any order. Quite simply put, I'm going to do this out in long first. All right? So I'm going to write this out in long. I have 2x times 4x squared. So the 2x, I have a 2 and an x. So I'm going to expand this out. 4x squared, well, I have a 4. And then x squared means I have an x and an x. All right? So I've multiplied out the 2x to the 4x squared. That's what it looks like expanded. Now I'm going to go through and do my multiplication. Well, anything that's like terms, so for example, the 2 and the 4 are numbers, we can multiply them together. So 2 times 4 is 8. Now, like the previous page, I have x times x times x. So I have 3 x's being multiplied. So I can reduce that or simplify that to 8x cubed. Now, shortcut here. In order to save yourself some time, back at the monomial, you multiply your numbers together, the 4 times 2, and that's how we got our 8. Next, you need to figure out how many x's you have. This one's actually the easy one. I know I have 2 x's here. The other x, there's no exponent there. If there's no exponent there, we assume it to be a 1. So technically, if I add up my x's, 1 plus 2, I know then I have 3 x's or x cubed. So those exponents just tell you how many x's are contained inside. It's like having a bag. If you have x squared on the outside of the bag, it tells me that there's x's in here and that there's 2 of them. All right? So let's look at a couple of examples. So, first one here. It tells me that I have 3 x's here. This one doesn't have an exponent, but we assume it to be a 1. So that tells me that I have a bag of 1 x's and a bag of 3 x's. So when I combine those together, I'm going to have a total bag of 4. All right, so I just took the exponents, and I added them together to get that exponent. All right. For the next one, first thing I always take care of is the numbers, the coefficients. So we know that 4 times 6 is 24. Then I know I have two x's here, x squared, that'd be x and x cubed, x. So if you write them all out, you have a total of 5 x's. I'm not going to write 5 x's out. I'm just going to go x, and there's 5 of them, or x to the exponent 5. Okay? So these red and green lines I'm drawing in are for note purposes only. Okay? You do not have to do this when you're simplifying. I want you to be able to look back in your note and be able to figure out what I did. All right? So the next one, I'm going to go with equal sign down below. So equals. So do my numbers first. Do my coefficients. 2 times 3 times 2. So I have 3 of them this time. Just doing the multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. Times 2 is 12. So that gives me my 12. I have x's. Now I've got to figure out how many I have. So I said, like I said earlier, the ones with exponents are easier. I have 6 and 2. This first one, though, doesn't have an x, so I need to make sure I remember that there is 1 there. So that would mean that if I add those guys together, 1 and 2 is 3, and 6 is 9. So 12x to the exponent 9. So that's how I got that. All right. So the exponents in the end, you're just adding your exponents together with the variables, and you're multiplying your coefficients. If there's anything here that was confusing or you need further explanation, ask your teacher right now. Hope the worksheet goes well. If you need any help, make sure you ask your teacher, and we'll see you in the next video.